Today I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite pieces of technology, and that is my turntable. Now I bought this new about 10 years ago. This is a Stanton Str8-80X, and I think it has a lot of very unique features that some of you guys may be interested in. So why don't we take a look? So now we're up close and personal with the Stanton Str8-80. I'll open it up here. We can see the Stanton logo on the actual turntable itself, and we can also see the Str8-80 down here at the bottom right. Now you may notice right off the bat this is a straight tone arm turntable, and I know there's a lot of debate whether the straight tone arm or the curved tone arm gives you a better sound, and to be perfectly honest, my opinion is that a well-made turntable with a well-made tone arm and a good stylus on it is going to sound good regardless of whether or not it's straight or curved. And it has the standard little sort of clip here to keep the tone arm on its little platform when you're not using it. It also has an adjustable counterweight on the back, and I recommend you adjust that very carefully. Now the next thing we're going to do is turn it on and look at a couple of basic features. Obviously there's the start-stop button on the left, and this turntable does 33 1/3, 45, and 78 speeds, so whatever you need to play you can. My only recommendation is don't turn it on to 78 and play 78s without a 78 stylus. You may or may not do any damage to your regular stylus, but I would just avoid it generally. The next thing I'm going to show you is there's this little button right here, and if you push this then a light pops up. I'm not sure how well you can see this on the video, but if you're in a low light situation you can just press this button, the light pops out, and you can actually, it sends a light directly across the record. So when you're trying to place your needle you can actually see all of the grooves, and it actually works pretty well, although I don't use it a whole lot. The next thing I'm going to show you is not terribly useful, but it's kind of neat, so I figured I would give you a close-up look. So here's this interesting and somewhat useless feature, but I thought I would show it to you guys anyway. Now you notice there's sort of a bluish purple light coming from your on-off switch, and it shines onto these circles that are on the side of your turntable. And at first I thought these were just sort of decorative, but if we turn it on at the 33 1/3 speed, you see that this one, let's see, I can't really get my finger in there, this one row of circles right here appears to be still. They don't appear to be moving. Now if we switch it over to 45 speed, then we have this larger group of circles down here that appears to not be moving. And then if we turn it to 78, then they all appear to be moving. But I just thought this was kind of an interesting feature. Like I said, not terribly useful, but kind of cool. Okay, moving over to the right side of the turntable, you notice we have some buttons down here, a fader, and a button up here. The first thing I want to show you is there is an MP3 line in, and this is for any kind of MP3 player, actually anything with a standard 1/8 inch headphone jack. You can plug into here and the sound will go through and out of your system. So this can be really handy if you've got an iPod around and no other way to connect it. Of course, most receivers nowadays have something like this on the front, so you can just plug it in, or some sort of wireless thing. But in any case, it can be useful. The button on the very right here is for the reverse motor. Normally that's set to off when you turn the turntable on initially, and so you can see it's spinning now, but if we turn the reverse motor on, then our turntable will be turning backwards. So if you're looking for satanic messages or anything like that, then that can be very helpful. The next thing I want to show you is this fader right here and the button at the top. Now we have a plus down here and a minus up here, and then this button up here says plus or minus 8% and plus or minus 12%. Now what this is you can slide this fader back and forth, and the record will actually speed up or slow down, and up to 8% if this is green and 12% if it's red. Now at first this might not sound all that interesting because of course if it gets slower the pitch is going to get kind of saggy and all that sort of thing. But what I think is really cool about this turntable and a really interesting feature is this button called key correction. If you turn this on, the pitch will actually stay the same on the record as you're getting faster or slower. So this can be really helpful if you're trying to do any kind of transcribing or trying to play and sort of figure out what's going on the record. Very, very useful, I think, for that. Also, we have this quartz lock button here, and this just assures that your record is playing at the actual 33 1/3 speed with no deviation, so you don't have to worry about this thing. And you notice this little, I'm not sure if you can see that, but this little light here always stays on in the middle if the quartz lock is on. So otherwise you have to scoot it to the middle, but if you put the quartz lock on, it doesn't matter where the fader is, you'll always get your normal speed. So as far as outputs, this thing has your standard RCA outs, and if you don't have a phono input on your receiver, you will need a phono preamp. But it also has a coaxial digital out. So if you have digital inputs, then you can actually go digital out from this, which is pretty cool. You could also hook it into a computer or something of that nature and dub things off of record if you have some really odd records and you can't find the CD for it or an MP3 or something of that nature. So now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a little bit of Giant Steps, and we're going to try out this fader and the 8% and 12% fader. Also try out the key correction, and I'll show you guys sort of how it works. And I won't be doing any talking because I'm going to have to move the mic to somewhere where you can hear the speakers a little bit better, but you can kind of take a look and see what's going on.